Hey, true believers, Chris Mack coming at you with The Amazing Spider-Man #1. And boy, do I wish this book was the real McCoy, but sadly, trying to get a copy of the original Amazing Spider-Man #1, that's funny. This is a true believer's essential facsimile copy, so at least being able to read the story, I'm happy. Next time at your comic shop, see if they have any more of these. They're only $1. So it's like, at least you have a placeholder until you can get that, what is it, like $50,000, $60,000 for a legit copy. But this is great because this book gives us the first appearance of Jonah Jameson and the Chameleon, and kind of the first interaction between Spidey and the Fantastic Four. This is the second appearance of Spider-Man because, if you all recall, Amazing Fantasy #15 is the first appearance. This follows the fallout of the death of Uncle Ben and what him and May are going to do. So before we dive into it, this is Stan Lee's script, art, Steve Ditko, and lettering, Johnny D. And I like how, note, Spider-Man first appeared as a feature in Amazing Fantasy 15 in August. So great a response via letters and postcards that it was decided to give him his own magazine. A brief summary follows. And this is like looking into a time capsule, just being able to see Steve Ditko and Stan Lee in their heyday, bringing about the mythos that we all love of Peter Parker and Spider-Man and all that good stuff. And I like how here, because they just kind of do these sort of promo pieces like this. And I love how you see Jonah Jameson leading the mob of freak, public, menace. I want pictures of Spider-Man. And it sums up the whole book in just one intro page. And I miss stuff like this. The print date on this book was December 1962. And immediately right off the bat, I like how it says, our scene is the bedroom of Peter Parker, the teenage student with many considered to be a shy bookworm. But oh, if they only knew. Uncle Ben is dead, all because I was too late to save him. My Spider-Man costume. I wish there was no such thing. And so we get a quick, backstory on what happened in Amazing Fantasy. And now he's talking about how him and May have no money to pay the rent, and so they're desperate. And so Peter's saying that he has to do another performance because the way that he was trying to get money in the original book, I believe it was a wrestling match. So he's trying to go and do a public spectacle at the town hall. But what happens afterwards is he says, I have to give you a check, pal, so you're going to have to tell me your name. And he's like, just make the check out to Spider-Man. You're the boss, but you'll have a mighty time cashing it. So again, Parker is SOL and needing money. He has this check that he can't cash. C'est la vie. Should have been like, make it out to cash. Or, say, can we donate it to May Parker because of what happened to her husband? But again, that's me bringing real life thoughts into comics. We have to have that suspension of disbelief. Anyway, here, this panel, first appearance of Jonah Jameson. As Spider-Man finds that he cannot cash his desperately needed check, just across town, a man at a typewriter is making still more trouble for him. When I'm through with this article, Spider-Man will be run out of town. And because of Jonah's words, no one wants to book Peter for performances anymore. And he's furious. And then here, what happened with Peter and what happened with the X-Men is he goes, I don't get it. How do other superhuman guys like the Fantastic Four and the Ant-Man get away with it? Nobody bothers them, and they always seem to make enough dough. So, and again, because they, for the longest time, police wanted to arrest Spider-Man like they did Batman, and then how the X-Men were persecuted. I'm always just thinking, I understand each writer was trying to do analogies and different takes, but logically, again, looking through that lens, it's like, how can the Avengers... But again, it just probably shield. Moving on. And May gets so desperate that she starts to pawn her jewelry. And Peter's just taking this responsibility on. Because at this point, I think he's still in high school. He hasn't gone to college yet. And she's doing it all for me. And there's no way I can repay her. No way I can help her. I can't even find a job. It's all his fault, meaning Jonah. Because of him, I can't perform in public as Spider-Man. He's like, I can't let Aunt May down, even if it means the Spider-Man will again stalk the city by night. And there's a moment where he considers using his powers for bad, saying, I can take money anytime I want. But he's like, what am I thinking? If I get arrested, it'll tear Aunt May apart. And that's not who I am. And then we get into a part 2 story with Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson. I know the J's just abound here. Just like in the original Sam Raimi film, he's an astronaut. They're doing basically supposed to be like an Earth orbit type thing. Something happens with the capsule, and everyone's wondering how they can save Jameson's son. And like I says, while unsuspected by all, a better way does exist, in the form of Peter Parker, who has observed the entire dramatic event. There's only one person who can save John Jameson. And the way that he saves him, it's actually kind of quite spectacular. But again, Jonah Jameson being who he is, this newspaper demands that Spider-Man be arrested and prosecuted. And Peter is flabbergasted. And I'm kind of glad, just thinking about it, even though the original Steve Ditko artwork just really adds that pop and that Pulp Fiction-y feeling, I'm kind of glad that he's kind of, Parker has matured in terms of looks. Because, again, he was supposed to be a nerdy bookworm who got powers. But I'm kind of glad that he doesn't have that kind of geeky look anymore. But that's just my personal opinion. Now, I don't want to give any more of that story away. Then we get into another story. I think that was added prior to this one. I don't know if this was written before or after. This is his first interaction with the Fantastic Four, but check this out. We know him as Peter Palmer, but the world knows him as Spider-Man. I had to look that up, and I was digging through Reddit, and someone said that it was just a spelling error because it's always supposed to be Peter Parker. Another person said Stan Lee had, I can't remember the word that they used, but basically ways that he'd say, oh, Palmer, Parker, the way he could remember the characters' names, and he accidentally put Palmer in the book. So for those of you that have more in-depth story, let us know down in the comments so that we can appreciate this more. But I remember the first time I read that, it just made me laugh, and yeah. So Parker, here kind of continuing the theme of needing money, says, well, I'll just join the Fantastic Four, and it'll also kind of help repair my image because I'm needing to be arrested. And instead of, calling the Baxter building and making an appointment to talk to Reed, he just straight up busts in. He goes, greetings, group. You shouldn't make it so easy for people to drop in on you. But Peter, being young and arrogant, because I think he's only supposed to be like 15 or 16, maybe 18 at this point, he just waltzes in, not thinking ahead, busting equipment, and just kind of goes to town. And everyone's like, we don't want to fight you. And Peter's just like, oh, just consider this an evaluation. And they're just like, who are you? You aren't you wanted by the police? And before Peter can, instead of talking to them and being logical, he has that young teenage knee-jerk reaction. He goes, I might have known. You're just like the rest, ready to believe the worst of anyone. Okay, keep me out of your group. Who needs you? I'll make you guys look like pikers. Now, pikers, I had to look that up because I guess that's an old term, but according to the interwebs, it means a person as regarded as petty or stingy. So that's what piker means. So the more you know. And then as the book comes to a conclusion, we get a fight, or should I say one last story with the Chameleon. And this sort of reminds me, if you guys have watched the old 66 Batman with Adam West, I don't remember his name. It's not Clayface, because obviously not, but he was kind of like the Chameleon, but I think he was called like Face Off or something like that. And he's able to change his appearances at will. And just kind of the corniness of this time just very much matches up with that episode. And so the Chameleon, what he intends is he reads the shenanigans that happened with the time capsule, the ship's capsule, and the Jameson family. So the Chameleon's like, you know what? I'll use Spider-Man as a fall guy. And here you really got to suspend your disbelief here, because I don't think anything in this issue has happened in a book, at least modern takes on Spider-Man. The Chameleon wants to draw Spider-Man out for a fight, or not a fight, but to try to lure him. And he goes, he has the powers and instincts of a spider, so I'll send him a message that only his spider senses will be able to pick up. So this sort of reminds me again, this is predates Superman, but if you all remember the original Superman movie, I think it was the original Superman movie, where Lex Luthor sends out that pulse code that only Superman can hear with his super hearing. And there's just too much of this here, and I'm kind of glad that they don't really add to that anymore. So anyway, with that, just kind of pushing this part aside, 60s silliness, the Chameleon is actually quite challenging. And then, of course, this was right around the Cold War, so of course the Chameleon wants to sell money to the Iron Curtain allies, is what he calls them, or something like that, but it's Russia. And yeah, I'm not going to go there. This 2022, I'm not going there. Now, the last thing I did want to mention is the Chameleon does get away from Spider-Man. And Peter's thinking, one of these cops must be a phony. He's doused the lights, but that won't stop him. Or stop me. I can still sense him in the dark. They must have really been like, you know what, his spider senses can do anything. And I'm just sort of like, I'm kind of glad that was retconned. But overall, the action was fun. The story is actually heartfelt, because you see, even though Spider-Man at this age knee jerks, and when he's in the costume, he gets a little arrogant. But when he has it off, you can see how much he's hurting to want to help Aunt May, because she's pawning her money. She doesn't know what to do without Ben. So this has a great emotional punch to it. The quips between the Fantastic Four and Spidey are hilarious. And then the drama with the Chameleon is actually very entertaining. And I can see why this book took off back in the day and became the powerhouse that it is now, and essentially the top-selling book at Marvel. Back in the day, it was Spider-Man and the X-Men, but the X-Men books, we're not going to talk about modern X-Men books. Anyway, Spider-Man #1. Excellent read. I would say if you guys want a copy of this, I'd say support your local comic shop and pick up a copy, but the original one, oh my god, like an original print of this is so expensive. So if you go, see if you can find this True Believers reprint, or just any type of reprint, so you can at least have a placeholder until you hit the lottery. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. It helps the club channel more than you can possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little spider web bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.